Welcome to Razzball Radio on the Fantasy Sports Network. We are in Phoenix. I survived the drive out of California today, and I'm here with my man, Scott Bogman, known as the Bogman, at Bogman Sports on Twitter. How you doing, Scotty?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Man, I'm happy to be back in Phoenix. We're about to do a draft here in Phoenix, but I actually just participated in a draft. What we did was we did our rookie draft for a dynasty league I'm in, so I thought we could do a little perspective here on what actually went down. So here's what I'm thinking, Scotty. Let's flip the script. I'm going to give you the mic, and you let me hit on some of the picks. But real quick, I'll give you a rundown of who went. Sankey 1, Watkins 2, Evans 3, Hyde 4, Ebron 5, Cook 6. So that's to give you the top 6 that came out. Not a lot of shockers there, although I would have taken Watkins number 1. Ask me some questions.
All right. How do you think Sankey will do this year and beyond?
Oh, that's a good question. I think Sankey's probably in the best position to succeed of any rookie running back for this season based on the line, based on opportunity. I think Hyde's the guy long-term out of this rookie running back class. But when you're thinking dynasty, you want to get a wide receiver early if possible because these guys are going to play 8, 9, maybe 10 years where running backs have such a short shelf life when it comes to NFL. So if you were really looking at kind of pure dynasty rankings here, you probably would have seen Watkins first, Evans too. So other than the Sankey pick, it went, somewhat to script.
I see that Brandon Cooks went 8. How high do you think his potential is for his career?
Actually, he went 6, and that's interesting because he's a really skilled wide receiver. Obviously, great opportunity there. The only thing to maybe consider is Drew Brees is getting a little bit older. They're not developing a quarterback yet, but how can you not love him? I'll tell you what I did, though. I had the 5th pick, and I actually took Eric Ebron, and the reason is A, I needed a tight end in that league, but I love his upside. I'm not expecting much this year, but I like the upside.
Potential for the future. How about Terrence West going 11? What can you tell us about him?
Hey, I got him too. I'm actually happy he slid to me. No, it was a good situation because I actually considered him at 5 where I took Ebron, and I didn't even know that it was me who took West. I like Ben Tate a little bit in Cleveland, but I think West is going to be the guy long-term that actually runs away with that job.
Marquise Lee is in Jacksonville. He's picked 14 in this draft. Is that good for him, or do you think that was a little too high?
That actually might be one of the steals of the draft. If you talk to T-Hole, of course, T-Hole absolutely adores Marquise Lee, the USC prospect or product now, obviously a prospect. No, he's not a prospect anymore. What am I talking about? I'm back in Phoenix. I'm trying to relax a little bit. I have a new house. What do you want from me? So Marquise Lee goes to Jacksonville. It's not this year for Marquise Lee, but obviously the skill set is there, and it's not crazy that after Sammy Watkins, he might wind up being the most productive wide receiver out of this entire draft class. It's always been with injuries with him. He slid in the real NFL draft. I think he slid here too. Great value, 14th overall.
Johnny Manziel. I mean, everyone's talked about this guy. From his college days to the bathroom in Vegas. He went in this draft, it looks like, in the second round, first pick in the second round. Yep. How do you think he's going to do this year and beyond?
This is a 14-team league, so he did go with the first pick in the second round, number 15 overall, and he was the wild card. I actually had a couple conversations. I mean, this is some really good friends I play in this league with. We had some conversations as to where Johnny Football would go. We thought actually top 5, top 6. We thought someone was going to take a chance on him, but him sliding all the way to the second round, that was one of the biggest surprises I saw today.
Could be a steal, could be a flop. Calvin Benjamin went right after him. I love that guy. I think he's going to be the number 1 option in Carolina. How do you think he's going to do this season?
You know what, and that's a great question, and I'll get to that in a second, but let me run off a couple more names just to give you some perspective, because I think Benjamin should have gone away earlier. Number 7 was Andre Williams. 8 was Jeremy Hill. I gotta steal the mic back. 9 was James White. 10 was Matthews. 11 West. 12 Beckham. 13 Mason. 14 Lee. I would have taken Benjamin. I'll give you back the mic. I definitely would have taken him over Beckham. I would have taken him over probably Lee, only because I think Benjamin's in a good opportunity to succeed this year. Everyone's talking down about Cam Newton. I'm not buying it. I mean, he's a top 5 quarterback the last 2 years in fantasy. There's no doubt in my mind that he can produce similar numbers. Everyone's saying, where's Steve Smith? Well, Kelvin Benjamin's going to get an opportunity. He's a monster, huge wingspan. He's also one of those guys that wind up being one of the top 2-3 receivers out of this entire draft class. It was a great draft for wide receivers this year.
Definitely. I want to back up a little bit and go to Trey Mason, who was picked 13. Running back for St. Louis. I like him a lot this year, especially if Stacy goes down. He's kind of nicked up a little bit last year. What do you think about Trey Mason?
Now, this is something I've been talking about all year, is that Zach Stacy, I'm not buying him as a second rounder. I'm not buying him as a third rounder. The reason is 3.9 yards per carry. You need him to get a lot of burn to actually produce for you. Yeah, he had a couple big games. He's also got 6 games against that tough division. So I'm not crazy about Zach Stacy. I think Mason has a huge opportunity. I don't know that we're going to see it this year, but look, the guy was the SEC Player of the Year. Lots of skill, explosive through the hole. Trey Mason could be a real special player.
I also like the running back pick. 4th pick in the 2nd round, Kadeem Carey out of U of A. Arizona, we're representing here. So what do you think about him? I know he's listed back in the depth chart now, but I think he'll wind up being the number 2, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I'm actually going to point out, we're going to have on in a few minutes Jess Root from Revenge of the Birds, SB Nation. And Jess actually at our NFL draft show this year pointed out Kadeem Carey to me, and he said, look, this guy was really good at Arizona. He's a touchdown machine. I love Matt Forte, definitely a top 5 pick this year, but if he goes down, Carey could get the opportunity. There's a lot of upside there.
Another quarterback went in the 2nd round, Teddy Bridgewater with the 9th pick in the 2nd round. I think he's really going to be good this year. I think he could start very early in the season, much earlier than people are giving him credit for. What do you think about him?
Sorry, who'd you ask about?
Teddy Bridgewater.
You know what? I think Teddy Bridgewater, sorry, you know what? It's like people are coming in for the draft right now. It's a really exciting time. Teddy Bridgewater, obviously a really interesting quarterback prospect. There was talk last year, this guy might be the number 1 pick overall in the draft, but didn't have great workouts. I like the opportunity. I like North Turner. I don't know if I'm buying him. I think Johnny Manziel is probably the only quarterback out of the early part of this class that has an opportunity. I like Blake Bortles long term. Blake Bortles might actually be the best quarterback for fantasy and for football out of this class.
Last one here, Allen Robinson, real quick.
No, I like Robinson, Jacksonville. I got to wrap this up, man. We got a draft to do, Bogman. Yeah. Hey, man, actually, can you run the draft board tonight? You want to be the draft board guy?
Sure, I'll be the draft board guy.
Love it. Bogman, by the way, Scotty Bogman at Bogman Sports. He co-hosts the Sports Porch podcast. It is wicked. It is very funny. I love these guys. Thanks for having me on as a guest, by the way, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
All right. This is Razzball Radio on the Fantasy Sports Network. We'll be back with Jess Root right after this. Welcome back to Razzball Radio on the Fantasy Sports Network. I'm here with Jess Root of SB Nation, or Revenge of the Birds, senior editor. This is the guy, if you love the Arizona Cardinals like I do now that I live here, this is the guy to know. Jess, thanks for coming back, hanging out with us again. You were great at the NFL Draft. You gave us some big tips this year.
Well, thanks. I'm glad to be here. I hope the Kadeem Carey works out.
Yeah, we talked about that in the rookie draft that we just had. But right now we're going to talk Arizona Cardinals. And if you want Cardinals information, you want to follow him on Twitter at Senior Jess Root, R-O-O-T. Okay, let's get right to the Cardinals, starting with quarterback Carson Palmer. I am on the record as saying I like Palmer a lot this year. With the rejigged line, having Cooper back, the emergence of Michael Floyd, I'm thinking it's not crazy to say Carson Palmer could throw 4,300 yards, maybe have 30, 35 touchdowns. Am I nuts?
Not at all. I mean, he threw for over 4,200 yards last year behind a really bad line. The 24 touchdowns, 22 picks was the downside. He played really well down the stretch in the second half of the season, with only 8 of those picks coming in the final 9 games. So, and his year 2, more comfortable in the offense, improved line, more talent at receiver and at tight end. He should be, 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns should be kind of the benchmark we should see from him this year.
And I think this is the best opportunity he's had to succeed since he was in Cincinnati. Do you agree with that?
I'd have to agree with that. The talent's there. He's in an environment where it's exciting. There, it's kind of like his early part of his career when Cincinnati was competing. Arizona's, despite missing the playoff, they believe they can contend for that NFC West crown.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, let's get to the running backs. Obviously, lots of buzz about Andre Ellington, and deservedly so. This guy is absolutely legit, but you watch the Cards every day. You tell me, are you as high on him as I am?
Oh, you have to be. Assuming he stays healthy, and that's the only perhaps concern. He bulked up. He bulked a little more upper body strength, few more pounds, but he's a guy who's going to touch the ball 20, 22 times a game between receptions and carries. It's not out of the realm of possibilities that he's going to go for 1,500 yards from scrimmage this year.
Wow, I would be very happy with that. I have him in a lot of leagues. Now, obviously, a lot of buzz happening that Stephon Taylor might get some of the goal yard carries, but you and I had a conversation earlier. You said it might be kind of a co-share with Dwyer. Is that accurate?
That's what I've seen a little bit in camp. Stephon Taylor has been running with the second team. However, Bruce Arians said it's not so much he's ahead of Dwyer. They're going to have specific roles, and when they ran the goal line offense, it was Dwyer that was successful in that scrimmage. He had 2 carries and got in the end zone both times.
Interesting. Okay. Now, that's pretty much it. We got Ellington, those 2 other guys. There's no one else who's going to get a chance to touch the ball?
Nothing to worry about. They'll have a 4th guy, Robert Hughes. He's going to be more of a fullback special teams guy. I don't expect him to really make any sort of impact on offense other than the intangibles, which don't do anything in fantasy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Okay, now the real interesting offensive group on this team obviously is the wide receivers. Looks like this year Michael Floyd, at least in the fantasy community, is being stumped as the guy who's actually going to be the number 1 receiver here ahead of Larry Fitzgerald. And if you want to get into technical football, you know, on the real NFL side, which is what you do, big balloon payment happening for Fitzgerald next year. He might not be here, so it's possible that they're trying to, you know, flip the script and make Floyd, and deservedly so, because he's exceptionally skilled. But is Floyd going to be the number 1 receiver on this team?
He is. Larry will always be the number 1 by title, but we're going to see something much like back in 08 and 09 when you had Fitzgerald and Bolden. But Floyd's going to be the impact player overall. He's going to have the bigger plays. He's going to have probably more receptions. He's got great chemistry with Carson Palmer going on right now. And while Fitzgerald last year got the bulk of the touchdowns, he had 10 catches in the end zone last year. Floyd will be right there. He would be my favorite fantasy-wise, and Fitz was right there. He's going to give you solid value. Just don't pick him up too high this year.
Okay, what about Ted Ginn? Is he going to be relevant at all?
Yes, he's there.
Really? Are you serious?
They are looking for speed at receiver. Arians loves to chuck the ball down the field. So you got between Ted Ginn and their rookie John Brown, those 2. Fast. There's going to be, and he loves to throw the ball, so there's going to be plenty of opportunities for all those wide receivers to make plays. He won't be a huge producer, but not a bad guy to have on a game-to-game basis. He could be one of those breakout guys. All
right, now you mentioned an interesting player, and that is John Brown, the 3rd-round pick out of, where did he go to school?
Pittsburgh State.
See, that's why I was, no offense, Pittsburgh State. I'm sure you're a great school. Okay, so alumni, I don't want to hear anything from you. But this guy, was he not the fastest wide receiver at the Combine?
I don't know if he was the fastest, but he is lightning fast. And he moves super fluid. He's been the star of all the entire offseason. The Cardinals, who have Antonio Cromartie and Patrick Peterson in their secondary, the comment has been he's been uncoverable.
Wow. So, okay, you've been watching this team for a long time. You obviously are you have a good understanding of Arians' offense. Are we actually going to see John Brown this year? Because today, in this rookie dynasty draft, John Brown didn't go. There was talk he might, but he didn't go. 20 balls, 30 balls, 40 balls?
If you look at T.Y. Hilton's production his rookie year, that's kind of what they optimistically predict for him. He's going to be a 30 to 40 catch guy, I think.
Okay, that's interesting. Could be a nice bye-week fill-in, but keep an eye on him, obviously, especially, too, if we're talking that Ginn is the number 3, and I understand why you are optimistic. For fantasy fans, you probably don't want to have anything to do with Ted Ginn. So, but, John Brown might be the guy to own there. Okay, tight ends real quick here on the Cardinals. John Carlson, no fantasy relevance whatsoever. Actually, you know what? I'll tell you. This might be the most least relevant group of tight ends of any NFL team for fantasy. But you know what? Break it down for me because I'm curious about him, and I'm curious about the second-round pick they also made this year.
Well, the second-round pick, Troy Nicholas, he's not going to get a lot of play in the passing game. He's more of a blocker right now. He's unpolished. However, John Carlson, he could be your steal. He looks...
Come on!
If he stays healthy, he looks fantastic. He runs great.
Come on!
If he's got to stay healthy. If he's healthy, he will have a big year.
Wow. Wow.
Healthy.
Wow. Holy cow. Are you serious?
Yes. Palmer likes throwing the ball at the tight ends. He had a great year with was it Myers in Oakland a couple years ago.
Ooh, good reference.
And he will, he's got to stay healthy. That's the issue. But he'll make an impact.
All right. My sugar daddy of the day, brought to you by ArrangementFinders.com, the player who is going to drastically outperform his ADP on the Arizona Cardinals. As high as Andre Ellington is going, I'm saying Andre Ellington. There you go. I think Andre Ellington is in for a massive year. And if there is a surprise running back that's going the third, fourth, fifth round, that could be number 2, number 1, number 3 next year. It's not crazy to think. I think he's a Jamal Charles light. All right, this is Razzball Radio on the Fantasy Sports Network. Mr. Jess Root. We'll be back. We're going to talk some of the stuff happening inside the draft here in Phoenix, and then we're on to Dallas. Holy cow, it never ends.
Welcome to the Razzball Radio 32 in 32 in 32. Right now we're going to do Tales from the Road with Nick Capozzi. You look tired, man.
What an intro. That was a great intro, Bogman. Yeah, I'm here with Scott Bogman. Maybe we should take the mic back. No, I'm kidding. No. Yeah, Scott, you know what? I am tired. I am very tired. This was a 3-man crew 3 days ago. Now it's me.
So are there any tellable stories for the 3-man crew? Where did the guru go? He was here.
Next question.
Okay. What has been the hardest part of this grueling tour? We're only on what, day 6? This grueling 6-day tour you've had. What has been the hardest part?
This is actually day 5, and you know what the hardest part's been? No, we did a lot of driving before getting up to Seattle. The hardest part, actually, the driving's not a problem, the shooting's not a problem, the researching's not a problem, the getting the great talent, that's maybe a problem. The real problem, you know what it's been? It's been uploading the show. I mean, we're working. I'm working like 16 hours a day right now, and 3 of those hours is just trying to get the show uploaded. So if anyone from Sprint or T-Mobile or Verizon is watching this, DM me.
There you go. So how about the driving? I hate it. There's no way I would do this tour with you. How has the driving been on this tour?
Actually, the driving's been fine. It's not been a problem. I mean, I'm happy to, get in the Razzmobile and just hit the road. The only long stretch, so we did Phoenix to Northern California, Seattle, Seattle back to Northern California. But then I did Oakland to San Diego yesterday, and that was 3 hours through L.A.
I think I remember you tweeting, you said you might not make it to San Diego.
I was hoping. I think I actually tweeted, smog check, traffic check. This is L.A. No, but it was crazy. So hitting traffic obviously is an issue, but for the most part, actually doing the driving is not a problem. So we're doing the Phoenix draft right now. And by the way, the reason we're not always in the draft room, it depends on lighting. Not that this show's on a budget or anything. I don't know. If anyone's got some flashlights too, DM me. But tomorrow, now I've got 2 days to get to Dallas because that's like a 15-hour drive. So I'll stop somewhere, where there's like a dust bowl and some tumbleweeds, and we'll shoot a show. But today was pretty good, actually, because not only did we do that Dynasty League rookie draft to give some perspective on Dynasty League rookie drafts, but also, we got to talk Cardinals. So it's good. Yes, I'm tired.
Okay, so you've eaten a lot of awesome things. Has anything that you've eaten on this tour not have bacon?
No.
So when do the Crestor ads start? How about the best beer that you've had on this tour? I'm sure there's been a lot of beer, and there will be much more flowing. But what has been the best to this point in Phoenix?
You know what? I'll tell you what. So we had really good cider when we were in Oakland or Sonoma County, cheating. But we had the great cider, which is really cool because cider's actually blowing up right now. And it's not that sweet stuff that when I was a teenager, because teenagers legal in Canada to drink. But you know what is actually really cool was when we were in San Francisco. If you've ever been to San Fran, which is if you haven't been to San Francisco, that might actually really truly be the coolest city in the U.S. New York is amazing. LA is cool. There's lots of great cities, but San Fran might be the coolest actual city. And if you've ever been there, every bar's got beer and a shot of Fernet. And so it's a herb-based liqueur, and it is like 25% of the North America's consumption is done in San Francisco. So Fernet, we had a few Fernets, a few ciders. And then, to be honest, I've been driving most of the time. Like, everyone's like, oh, Nick, have a beer. And I'm like, okay, can you pour it into a shot glass? Because, the other thing, too, is here's the other thing. Logistically, I can't stay in these cities. I mean, in San Francisco, I got to get like an hour and a half out because the next day I got to be traffic, right? Yeah. So I'm trying to get, we're wrapping up at like 11, 12 at night. Got to wrap it up and hit the road and get out. in that beautiful Razzball. I'm looking at it right now. It's such a sweet ride.
It is really nice. We can see it from here.
By the way, sorry, Mercedes, if you want to give me new Mercedes this year, I'll raffle this off. I'll raffle the Sprinter off.
Always pushing for the sponsors. How did you not get stabbed in Oakland?
Well, we cheated, and we didn't actually go to Oakland.
Smartest decision made on the tour. That was it, right?
Listen, I'm not knocking Oakland. I am not knocking. I love Raiders fans. Raiders fans are wicked.
I'm afraid.
No, you know what? You know what it was that in a few of these cities, because technically it is 32 drafts, 32 days, 32 cities, but there's 3 lengths that are so long we couldn't drive it same day and get there. So that was Seattle, San Fran. So there's a day off in between. Phoenix to Dallas, day off in between, and New Orleans to Tampa. So we doubled up. New York, San Francisco, and then I'm missing the obvious one. Nick's tired. Oh, DC, Baltimore. Come on. Nick.
DC, Baltimore.
Throw some water
Speaking
on
of getting stabbed. All right. So, so a lot of driving. Have there been any close calls with any of our furry friends out there?
You know what? I want to be careful because we're home in Phoenix. I don't want my wife to hear this. There was almost a cow. I almost brought home steak, like really good quality. You know, I don't know how to age it and marble it. But yeah, no. You know, it was so weird. So, Southern Oregon. This is crazy. So it seemed like all of nature, all of flora and fauna happens in Oregon. So first thing is we're coming through these tight, windy roads, and in the middle of this road is this cow, and it's night, and it was a black cow. So it was like black on black. And even with the high beams, all you could see was like the eyes, the whites of its eyes. That was pretty crazy. There was actually a brush fire, lightning storm fire in Northern California. So it was pushing our fuzzy little friends out into the highway. It was absolutely crazy. So that night we almost took home some steak, some venison, and I think I've killed a few mole rats on the way, but I'm not sure. But then in Southern Oregon, this was crazy. They had mosquitoes, and look, you know, I'm from Canada. They joke in like Winnipeg, you know, mosquitoes are the size of birds, but it was like it was like violent gunshots against the windshield, and it was like splatting. These crazy dude. I'm so tired.
All right, so 5 days.
Get my back. Scotty, you're awesome. Seriously, you know what though, people? We are really trying just to recoup today in Phoenix. We're going to have a great draft here, but we are heading to Dallas, and that is when things will kind of get back on the norm. The West Coast was a long run to make that happen. But we'll be back. We got more coming up. We're doing this 32 days in a row, TV every day. Next stop is Dallas. We are on our way. This is Razzball Radio, Fantasy Sports Network. We love you, America.